Would you pay 4,500 euros for a driving license? In 2026, that is the reality for many in Germany. The average cost has exploded to 3,400 euros and in some regions up to 4,500 euros, driven by inflation and increasingly complex training requirements. Nearly half of all the students fail their theory exam and more than a third fail the practical. Even worse, repeat candidates are statistically more likely to fail again, creating an expensive cycle of second, third, and fourth attempts. The growing cost hit rural areas especially hard, where public transport is limited and a license often means access to work, education, and basic mobility. But a massive government overhaul is finally on the table. Is the affordable driver's license reform actually going to save you money? Or is it a trap? Let's break it down. Transport Minister Patrick Schneider has proposed a radical reform package. First up, the end of mandatory classroom hours. One of the biggest changes is the move to fully digital theory learning. In the future, you could complete your theory entirely through an app. And that massive catalog of 1,169 questions, it is being cut by a third to focus only on actual road safety. On the practical side, the government wants to replace expensive road hours with high-tech simulators. You could learn to drive a manual transmission on a simulator, take your test in an automatic, and still be licensed for both. Plus, those expensive special trips like night driving and highway driving are being reduced. The plan even aims to shorten the practical exam to the European minimum of just 25 minutes. The government is also experimenting with layman training, where parents could help you practice before you even hire an instructor. With all these savings promised, you would think now is the time to wait for the reform, right? Wrong. Transport Minister Schneider is issuing a stern warning. Do not wait. The 2027 timeline for the overhaul is not guaranteed. It depends on smooth coordination between the federal government and the states. Even after the reform takes effect, prices won't drop overnight because the driving school fees are shaped by market forces. The new rules provide the options and freedom for schools to lower costs, but they do not guarantee a specific price reduction. Experts call this a ticking time bomb. If 500,000 uncompleted tests accumulate by 2027, the resulting backlog will be so massive that extreme demand could cause prices to spike, wiping out the intended savings entirely. Not everyone is happy about affordable driving license reform. Road safety experts warn that shortening exams and cutting lessons could lead to more accidents. They argue that traffic today is more complex than ever, and that budget training could cost lives. Their solution? Focus on quality so people pass the first time, because the most expensive license is the one you have to pay for twice. BHW leader Fabio Di Masi is calling for a legal price cap of 2,000 euros for a driver's license, describing current cost as a rip-off for families. He criticizes the government's plan for relying on market forces rather than direct intervention to ensure low-income youth aren't left behind. The biggest question now is whether this reform will truly lower cost or whether Germany is heading toward an even more overwhelmed licensing system. What's clear is that the stakes are high, access to mobility, independence, and opportunity depends on it.